It's Jay. Welcome to Mvskoke Radio, your weekly source for tribal and community news, interesting guests and discussions, plus a local events calendar. Out here. We want to talk with a couple of people from the tribe here this morning from the Social Services Division, Mahia on the Hill and David Lindsay, who are both case managers with that program. Good morning, welcome. Thank you for making time to come down and talk with me today. We appreciate it. It's been all over the news for days now that how hard that storm hit, and people are really in pretty bad shapes in many cases. And the tribe does offer some sort of, I presume, limited help to help people recover from that. So that's what we're here for today. First of all, let's get a feel for what your particular division does, what your program is set up to do. First of all, they always look at each other and say, you go first, you go first. Or I can just put them on the spot and say, David, go ahead.
So for our disaster program, I mean, we know that in the early morning of June the 18th, they were talking about 90-mile-an-hour winds coming through, causing a lot of trees to fall over, power lines to go down. We've had a lot of tribal members that went without power and still are currently without power. I know there was a few times that I've called. They were saying that their power's not expected to come on until Friday, sometimes Saturday of this week. One of the things that we offer for our disaster program is that if your power is out for more than 12 hours, we can provide a food voucher up to $500 for food. We can use them at the stores that we are in partnership with. They can submit their application, a utility bill. A caseworker will have to verify the information with the utility company. When we call, we just ask if what time the power outage started, if it's still off, or if it has already came back on. As long as that timeline is more than 12 hours, we will be able to provide assistance with the food voucher. It's not just a food voucher that we can do, though. We could issue a check, which does take time for the client to receive, our tribal member to receive, or the tribal member can purchase food on their own at their own store, any place that they want. Food, beverages, things like that, and submit the receipts, and we can reimburse.
Okay.
So that's always an option.
That's always a critical word there, receipt. Mm-hmm. In other words, to prove that you actually did it, and this is what it costs and what you picked up. Now, you mentioned the food, and other vendors that you work with. I presume they're some of the larger ones here in our area. Would something like a Walmart be included?
We don't use Walmart. It is called
Cox Cash Saver.
Right. Yeah. I remember them being around earlier, and then they disappeared, and now they're back.
Yeah, they're located on 8th Street now, and but you can, like David mentioned, if you want to go to Walmart and buy your groceries, you can submit those receipts to us, and we can reimburse. It doesn't matter what grocery store you go to be reimbursed.
Okay. Well, it's weird. I was in a Walmart up in Glenpool just the other day and walked in, and those shelves were clear. There was nothing on any of them. They were all completely wiped out. They had removed what they were labeling as bad food.
Yeah.
Saying, don't touch it, don't do anything with this stuff, because if you get sick, it's your own problem, I guess. But some people kind of wandering around looking, well, what do I do now? The lunch meat was gone, all the meats and dairy products were all wiped out. Yeah. Things like that. I ended up, I think, getting a couple of cans of Spam.
That's always good.
Yeah, most of us remember Spam, don't we? And it came through for us again, but that kind of saved our bacon.
Yeah.
And we were able to have an old-time Indian dinner.
Well, fried Spam.
Yeah, with a big block of cheese, and it used to be on Wonder Bread. That was a feast. Anyway, the $500 is the limit that you that you've set. So I presume there's going to be an application process that you've started out with. So how does one begin, I guess, from point one and get into being served?
Well, you can come up to the office, or you can download the application. It's on the Muskogee Nation's website. Under departments, you just click on social services and download the application. With the application, you will need to submit tribal cards and socials for everyone in the household. Also submit your electric bill, like David said, or you might call and ask if they can print you out a verification to show how long your electricity had been out. And then, so you'll just need the application, your electric bill, or that paper that they might can send us, and then we can get you going from there.
Okay, you do need to, in other words, you need some proof of your situation.
Yeah.
You don't just walk in and say, pay me.
Yeah, I wish.
Yeah.
But also, like you were mentioning how the grocery stores are without food right now, also if you're still without power, you don't have to come apply right away. You have a year from the date of the disaster. So if you're still without power, you might want to wait until that comes back on so your food doesn't spoil again. Also for the vouchers, they'll need to be used within 5 days. Some instances we can stretch it a few more days. And then for the receipts, though, if you get a check, they'll be due within 60 days.
Mm-hmm.
So just be mindful of when you apply, if you're going to be able to use those funds right away.
Right, and get those receipts.
Yeah, get the receipts.
Got to be able to, or there might, be penalties?
Yeah,
or-
there are consequences. If you don't submit your receipts within 60 days of you getting that check payment, you'll be disqualified from all human services programs for 1 full year.
Wow, that's a pretty high price to pay for a little piece of paper.
Yeah.
I know it's kind of early in the process and people are still dragging tree limbs out of their driveways and things like that. But have you all got any feel for how many people are in need, or maybe how many have applied for assistance?
We don't have an exact number yet. We do know that yesterday we had received 263 disaster calls, just trying to get information, get applications turned in. We was told this morning that we have received almost 50 applications for disaster through email. So we're trying to get the word out right now. I do know that Tulsa Indian Community posted on Facebook. So did Muskogee Indian Community posted as well, with the information that we're providing here today as well. It's getting shared. I think they said it was shared almost 100 times already since the last 2 days.
Gosh.
Just trying to let people know throughout Oklahoma that we can provide assistance as long as they are enrolled with the Muskogee Creek Nation.
Well, we'll do our little part here to kind of help them along. Now, we've kind of talked about the human consumables, food and stuff like that. Does your program do anything else to support people? Like we hear a lot of stories of roofs being destroyed and people losing pretty much everything in some cases, all their clothing and whatever else. Does this assistance extend to that kind of thing?
Yes and no, to an extent. So for our disaster program, if they're outside their home right now due to having no power and they're having to stay in a hotel room, we can reimburse up to the government rate of $98 a night. So if someone's staying in a hotel today, tomorrow, up until Saturday, or until their power gets turned on, make sure they hang on to those receipts. They can submit those back to us as long as the receipts are in their name. We can reimburse them as long as they have a Creek citizen or they are a Creek citizen. Now, we cannot provide any assistance for the outside of the home, roofs or anything like that. But if there was a hole and water came through and it caused damage to furniture, or to their electronics, to their appliances, things like that, they can submit photos of where their hole is, what was damaged, and things like that. We can submit quotes to us, and we can try to provide assistance on helping them get new items for their home, for what is damaged.
Does it matter, like, what kind of, or the location of a hotel room or a motel? I presume a lot of this damage is happening in rural areas, and people would be going to some of the local facilities, but someone went to River Spirit and said, I got to stay here for a while.
Yeah.
Is that covered? I mean, that's kind of a pricey place to be.
Yeah. Well, we can cover up to 98 a night. So whatever they were out of pocket over that amount, they would just be out of pocket.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You might want to think twice about it.
Yeah.
Try some of the other tribes. Yeah. Okay, now, people are sitting in situations where they're in need of immediate help. I mean, why all their food supplies is just trashed. And is there some sort of time limit or some sort of expectation for your assistance to come through for people who are in dire need, shall we say?
Well, in those situations, we will do our best to accommodate those citizens. We're here to help. We're here to help however we can. So if you are in that kind of situation, please reach out, and we'll do our best to get you the help that we can.
Mm-hmm. Is there anyone that you know of that could be of immediate help? I mean, do you refer people or that kind of thing?
If it's for the food, I mean, we try our best. We've had a couple of citizens come in to the office this morning requesting to wait on the food voucher. If we have the time to get to it, we can. Most of the time, it depends on the caseworker situation, because not only do we have a large volume of disaster applications coming through, we're still working with our burials and our hardships and assisting other citizens with other cases. Like I said, if we can get to it, we can. We try our very best. We try to tell them there's a wait, just to give us a little time and their understanding of that. But if they're wanting to get right then and there, there's a good chance we won't get to it right then and there.
Mm-hmm. So,
But we do try our very best to get to them as quickly as possible.
so asking people to keep that in mind and be patient.
Yes.
Yeah, we've heard, the people like lines of cars at the gas station and crowds of people at the food store just clearing off shelves and things. Do you help people who are in those kind of situations, particularly with something like gas or fuels or any of that?
Well, we don't have any programs that will help with purchasing gas or
Okay,
reimbursing
yeah.
with gas. I don't know. That's a question I would have to get an answer for and get back to you.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
Now, as far as food, we're talking primarily people going to like the grocery store or something like that. So if they are going to a restaurant or something of that nature, is that sort of thing covered also?
So if you choose to get the check payment, you can use those funds to go to fast food or restaurants or maybe even a gas station to get a sandwich. As long as those receipts are for food, we will honor them.
Nothing like fine dining at the QT. I saw it. Sounds ridiculous, but people are getting, kind of bent out of shape about this sort of thing. As a matter of fact, I was actually stopped in for a cold drink at the Sonic, and I saw a couple of people get into a fist fight. No, I'm going to go get something somewhere else.
Yeah, go pick up an RC and some peanuts.
You got it. That was a real treat when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, folks would buy those to shut us up. Like go get a haircut. The numbers you've seen, you mentioned something earlier, 200 calls.
Yes.
And one of the challenges of dealing with relief agencies is sometimes the wait. You get on the phone and it could be like a half an hour or more to have your phone call answered. Is there some provision for helping people? Do you record messages and then get back to them? How does that work?
Yeah, so for our intake workers, I know they're rotating calls throughout them. We do let them know that if they have to leave a voicemail, we try to get back with them between 24 and 48 hours. We're just trying to get through as many people as possible, provide assistance as much as we can. But like I said, with all these calls coming in, all these disasters coming in, and then on top of that, the normal burials, hardship programs that we have to get through, it does take a little bit of time. So we're just asking people to be patient. If they need the assistance as immediate as possible, they can try to call again, and they can try to speak with us as quickly as they can. But we do ask to give us the 24, 48 hours to get back with all of our voicemails. But we will do it, though.
Right, you've got requests in the hundreds now.
Yeah.
See, I guess you guys are in a situation, you take the calls as they come in. I mean, you speak directly with citizens who are asking, without revealing any names or anything. Have you heard any real horror stories out there of people just absolutely lost everything and dire need of like immediate help or that kind of thing?
Mostly it's just dealing with the power at the moment.
Okay.
I just know that some of the people that I spoke with, power's not going to get turned on until Friday, maybe Saturday, and that's with the company stating that they could try to get it on by then. So there's no guarantee. And then I do know that a couple of my own family members are still without power, and they're struggling to find a hotel room to stay in right now due to everyone booking rooms and having to stay places. It's just being very hard right now just to get people the immediate assistance that they need.
Yeah, have you heard anything like that, Michaela?
No.
Mahia, rather.
It's okay. No, I haven't heard any real bad stories. I just think about our elders and our children who may be without power and are in the heat, or maybe don't have anything to eat because it went old, and we don't want them to get sick. So I hope those people reach out for help, and we do have elder advocates that can come out to check on the elders also. It's not my department, but they are really helpful in doing that.
Well, that's wonderful, because they say food can spoil overnight practically. And if you lost power for a couple of days, then you can guarantee that all of that stuff has gone bad. And you don't want anybody eating any of that by mistake. So you've got some help. Now, I used to work for electric utility up in Alaska, and when we got hit like that, you hear all kinds of stories of people, and think, well, I'm practically freezing to death. Where can I go to get warm? Do you make any references or put out some ideas where people might be able to get some assistance that you don't normally cover? We're talking, you hear a lot of things about cooling stations being available, like in Tulsa and things like that. Do you? You're not set up to do that sort of referral?
Well, we can sure find out where they can go. If that's something we need to find out, we'll get with the right people and find out. But on the top of my head, no, I don't know.
Well, that's all right. That's understandable. You got your hands full anyway. If we're looking at an extended effect of the power outages and things like that, are you all set up to kind of keep things going for a bit, or is this going to be a short-range, limited program help for people?
Like Mahia said earlier, like the disaster program, it is good for 1 year from the disaster date.
Okay.
So, I mean, if you have the means to kind of continue on your normal life right now, have a place to stay, be able to feed your family, that's good and all. In a month from now, when things start slowing down, if you want to apply then, you can, and we can still provide the assistance that we're providing now, especially with the food, because we know you're having to pay out of pocket to get all your food replenished. So let's just say August 1st, you decide, okay, I can get my application in, get your utility bills turned in, get the statement from the utility company stating, hey, on June maybe 18th when it hit, you was out of power starting at midnight is what I'm really hearing a lot of, and your power didn't come on for 2 or 3 days. We can still assist with food at that time.
Oh,
but
boy.
you do have just 1 year from that disaster date.
When that blackout hits you, it's amazing the impact that it can have. You realize that practically all of our life is connected to some sort of a electrical thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, including those little phones, that run our lives now. Yeah. Okay, now, if we're looking at people with just nowhere to turn, and they may give you all a ring, what kind of advice are you giving? Other social service agencies, perhaps, or letting them know what you can and can't do? Oh, that's a good question, by the way. Is there something you really cannot do if someone's asking for help?
A lot of the time we'll be asked if we can provide assistance with getting a hotel room, if we can pay up front for the hotel room. Unfortunately, that's not something we can do.
Okay. Yeah.
Our hands are kind of tied there. But we do understand those situations, and we wish there was more we could do. But just right now, the only thing we can do is reimburse with a receipt, assuming you reach the other guidelines.
Yeah, that would be a pretty complicated process dealing with a hotel clerk who knows nothing about your program. And saying, well, if you don't pay for your room, you don't get it. Okay.
And then also making sure the hotel rooms are taken care of by the person who's staying there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if someone is interested in more information, wanting to talk or perhaps file an application, how do they go about doing this?
They can just call our main number. It's 918-549-2880. You can ask to speak with the Human Services Department, which is what we're connected with. They can explain that they were a part of the disaster. Then they can try to get them transferred to an intake worker if possible. If not, they will still get them transferred over. Just like I said, if they do end up leaving a voicemail, do give them the 24, 48 hours. Our intake workers are working very hard to get through all those calls. Not only are they getting the calls, they're trying to get all the applications that they're assigned pushed out to a caseworker so that we can start working on them for our clients.
And be patient.
Yeah. You're also welcome to walk in, but again, please be patient and know that we're doing our best. And you can also download the application, fill it out, and submit it via email to socialservices@muskogenation.com.
Okay. Well, we appreciate you all coming down today. I know we had to get this on quickly to get some help out to people who might need it. So if there's anything perhaps that we can do, you got any notices you need to get out, let us know, and we'll do what we can. All right. Well, any final words from either of you? If not, we'll get out of your way here.
I just hope everybody stays safe out there, and we just need to work together and make sure we're helping others.
Okay. Well, Mado, we'll talk to you, and God bless you all for all the help that you provide, and hope that people can make the connection and come in and talk with you all.
Thank
all right,
you.
Have a good one. We're going to take a short pause here, and we'll be talking with some folks about the Indian Child Welfare Act, a court decision that went our way. So please stay with us here on Mvskoke Radio, here on The Brew.
I started doing it when I was 11. I wanted to be just like my big brother. And some of my friends were already doing it. We got hooked fast. I just can't get enough. I'm Jacob, and I'm addicted to playing the drums.
There's lots of stuff that makes it cool to be Native. Doing meth isn't one of them. Find something better to do. Check out ncai.org. A message from the Partnership for a Drug-Free America and the National Congress of American Indians.
Hear that? That's the sound of Hope being killed by meth. Methamphetamine use is causing huge problems in our community. Hear that? That's the sound of something you can do about it. Events like rodeo, res ball, and family time can help keep kids away from meth.
Talk to your kids. Keep our culture alive. A message from the Partnership for a Drug-Free America and the National Congress of American Indians.
Learn more at ncai.org.
Who am I? Am I Native? I don't want people assuming things because I'm Indian. I just want to be me. But how do I live in two worlds? Some guys just check out by doing meth. But that ain't for me, because I see my family, my friends, my drum making, my future. There are a lot of cool things about being who I am, and meth isn't one of them.
Learn more at ncai.org. A message from the Partnership for a Drug-Free America and the National Congress of American Indians.
Okay, as usual, so to speak, with live radio, last-minute changes can change your programming. But we had lined up some folks to come in and talk about the Indian Child Welfare Act, a decision by the United States Supreme Court that supported the law that will allow tribes first chance at adopting and providing a life for Indian children. If that changes between now and the end of our program, we shall change over and do that. But until then, we have more reaction about the documentary about the freedom of the press movement and the changes in the tribal constitution. We want to thank our good buddy Jared Moore and his live wire for our piece here today. So why don't we change over and do that? If it changes back, we'll come back. So stay with us here on Mvskoke Radio.
On today's program, we're going to have Rebecca Lansbury Baker, who is the director of the Native American Journalists Association. Also, she is on the Mvskoke Media editorial board, but for the purposes of this interview, we're talking to her as the co-director of the new documentary, Bad Press. Becca, thanks so much for joining us today.
Of course, always happy to be back with Mvskoke Media anytime and chatting with Mvskoke citizens. So it's exciting to be back home in Oklahoma.
So I wanted to have you on today because over the weekend was the Dead Center Film Festival where Bad Press was showing. But before we start talking about that, I wanted to get the audience caught up a little bit on what was going on, what's happened since the last time we had you on. And for you guys, I'm going to list some stuff. Some of this, I don't know if you guys got awards at it, but because there's been so many awards, but you just jump in anytime, Becca, and let me know. So at Sundance, the film got a special jury award for freedom of expression. Then after that, it was at the River Run Film Festival where it got Best Documentary. And then Sun Valley Film Festival, where it won the prize for One in a Million, which is a prize that's given out to documentaries or features that their budget was under $1 million. After that, Millennium Docs in Poland, which we ran a story in the paper about from Angel's perspective. But did you guys win an award at Millennium Docs, Becca?
Not at Millennium Docs, but what was a very cool highlight from that was that some Polish students actually got together and made us a Bad Press movie poster. And so cool. I'll share that with you. It's very cool. We don't have anything like that at all. And it was just very cool to see the students put that together and just have this beautiful piece of art to remember our experience in Poland. So
absolutely. And for you guys out there, there's a link, there's a trailer for the film, a link to it in the description here. That's from the Millennium Docs Poland YouTube channel. So check that out. It's not really a trailer. It's kind of like just an excerpt of a couple of minutes from the film, but that'll be your opportunity to see some of what the film is going to look like. After Millennium Docs, you guys went to the Seattle International Film Fest. How did you guys do there? Did you get any awards there?
No awards there, but also that was such an amazing experience. So one of the things that I did while I was there, because our team was split, that was happening at the same time as the festival in Poland. So Joe and Angel were there in Poland, and then I went to Seattle along with Garrett and Conrad, and a lot of, I guess, all of the Neotero Foundation fellows, their Indigenous Storyteller fellows, came to one of our screenings of Bad Press, and I got to chat with them about being filmmakers, and a lot of them like are coming from different, backgrounds and under the umbrella of storytelling. So that was amazing, talking with other uh, indigenous journalists and just, folks who are maybe there was like, different career levels, some like me who were like really just getting into filmmaking for the first time, but have really important and powerful stories to tell. And so like Seattle was just like a true highlight in our festival experience, like having that audience of indigenous folks who just like get the humor off the bat and just like understand, like exactly like who our, community is and can jump, right into, that story without a lot of like context. So that was a very cool like experience, just watching the film again and like hearing their reactions in the audience.
Awesome.
So no awards, but that was like again another highlight.
Awesome. Well, and then after that, you guys were at the Mountain Film Festival in Telluride. How did that go?
Yeah, I wasn't there for that one. I really said I missed out because it looked beautiful. But I believe we got, for that one, we got an honorary mention for documentary at Telluride, if I'm remember, or at
Right.
Mountain Film. And so, I mean, that's always nice to be,
Yeah.
recognized there, even if it's not an actual like award. But I think, any sort of recognition from these juries where there are just amazing, other documentary like features. And again, some of these filmmakers have been like are way more seasoned than I am, and so it's always just like a surprise, beat out other amazing films.
Absolutely. And then the Berkshire International Film Festival in the UK. Were you able to attend that? I think that was Joe, right?
Yeah, Joe and Conrad went to that one. I think it was Berkshire, Maine, if I'm remembering correctly.
Okay.
I wasn't there at that one. But that is also another best feature documentary win. So that was, again, very exciting. And, this week we have coming up DC Docs. So Angel and I will be going to Washington, D.C. for that. This is the first DC Docs Festival, so really excited to be part of it. And it's really structured around like the connections between journalism and documentary filmmaking, so I'm particularly excited about that one. And then Joe and Conrad are on their way to Sheffield International Film Festival and that one is the one that is in England. And let me see if I can look up which award we're up for. It's Tim Hetherington, I believe, like the Tim Hetherington Award. But again, like if you look at that category this for this particular festival, these are lots of stories about like not just journalists but like dissidents across the world. Like there's stories of happening in China, in Ukraine, in Russia, about folks just like Angel in our story who, are fighting for democracy, fighting for justice, and fighting for free speech. So just like incredibly powerful, films and stories, again, from all over the world. So to be included in, this kind of lineup, like just seeing how the film, is at that same level, like globally, is just really incredible.
Absolutely. And you guys also have on your website there the Nevada City Film Festival as one of the upcomings after Sheffield.
Yes, that's correct. I'm looking through my list here too. I think you've hit all of the ones that, we have up that I know about.
Well, we have an announcement later about that too, guys. So, and I want to remind the audience, I see a couple of new faces there, and hello to everybody. Eats Jay. If you have a question, pop it into the chat and we'll try to get it asked. So with that being said, let's focus on Dead Center for a second. So you guys, do you want to do the announcement of for Dead Center, because we were talking about awards that were won. So
yeah, absolutely. So our latest award, I am very proud to say, is Best Documentary Feature from the Dead Center International Film Festival. So
Yay!
I'm so excited about this one. Again, like just every time we like look at these categories with the other films that are there, it's always just like so humbling to like be included in this list, and then to bring home the win is just really exciting. And I think, again, just speaks to the power of like Angel's journey and this, this story and the impact that hopefully it has had and will continue to have on the Muskogee Creek Nation, on our citizens, and other tribes as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And while we're chatting, I'm showing the audience there some B-roll of what it was like at the premiere. And I thought the premiere was really cool that they had it at the First Americans Museum in OKC. It's a really wonderful facility. It's a great museum. If you're in OKC, you guys should go check it out. And the Q&A was really interesting for the movie because there were a lot of citizens there, and we kind of got into the nitty-gritty on some of the stuff that happens in the documentary. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of your family came out. Could you kind of give people an idea of who was at the premiere from your side that showed up that maybe hadn't had a chance to see the documentary yet?
Yeah, it was really like a homecoming, I think, for our film because so many of our family and friends were finally able to be there. Sundance is a hard place to get to. We were
Right.
scrambling to get there ourselves. But I think, being on our festival run so far, like it hasn't always been like, easily accessible to the folks that are, have been supporting us along this journey. And so to have, this beautiful venue in the First Americans Museum and a place for them to all like gather and like watch the movie. Cause some of them, like my family members, they haven't seen the film since like a cut like last like November. So we shaved off all like lots of minutes between then and the cut that we have now. And so hopefully it's an improved viewing experience for everyone. But yeah, it was just very exciting to have them, in the audience and, folks that have known us, family friends, since we were kids and having, of course, like Garrett there and his family being from Oklahoma and our family and friends being from Oklahoma. And then, of course, even Angel and her mom seeing it for the first time. I think that was a really like powerful experience. And then, of course, you and your family too, Jared. I'm just so excited. And I always have to remind people or want to remind you that like you have lots of fans out there. I get people asking questions all the time. They want to know like where they can get more music from Jared and like love your role in this story too. So shout out to you for doing double duty and recording and also being a participant. But that's kind of just how we roll and really just one of the things that we do being, part of this story. It's part of our personal lives. It's part of our professional responsibilities, and we have to figure out ways to weave those together sometimes. So
absolutely. Well, and I could tell you from personal experience too, we weren't able to go to Sundance because of COVID, but we were able to watch it on a laptop, through Sundance's streaming program. But there's a major difference between seeing something on a laptop or even, like you were talking about previewing it to your family, between that and seeing it in the theater with an audience. So it really is a great film, and it's gotten great reviews. I think it is 100% on Rotten Tomatoes right now. So, yes. With that being said,
he keeps me aware of our Rotten Tomatoes score, so
it's doing great. So with that, the audience is right now probably if they care about the film, they're like, where can I see it? So we have another announcement for this stream. Do you want to let everybody know where they can catch Bad Press on the Res?
Yes. So we will be making our Tulsa premiere at the Circle Cinema Film Festival next month in July, and that'll be on Saturday, July 15th. And I believe there'll be some shorts, some Indigenous shorts that are going to play before our film. And then we're also planning a reception. There will be voter registration booths, since we know we have elections coming up for a couple different tribes in the area, including the Mvskoke Creek Nation. And then also some native catering. So I don't know if we have the confirmed details for that yet, but I can tell you to expect some good Indigenous foods at the reception. And
awesome.
So Very excited to be there at Tulsa, and we were so sad that we had to cancel the first round too. So I know people are like, when are you going to be in Tulsa again? So
Right.
this is, are going to be our Tulsa premiere, and so I think it worked out even better than we were planning on it the first time, to be there in conjunction with the festival. So there will definitely be, of course, in addition to Bad Press, lots of other great films to see, and Circle just does an amazing job of highlighting Indigenous talent, Indigenous stories, and so yeah, we're very excited to be a part of that. So I don't think that their schedule is live yet, so it's a scoop for sure, but we definitely want to give people a little bit of runway so they can make their plans to be there with us next month.
Absolutely. And I'm not seeing any questions in the chat from anybody, but so we're getting close to the wrap time. So if you guys want to get a question in, you better get it into the chat so I can see it. Now, I did want to talk a little bit about, and there's a link to this website in the description of this video, the Bad Press Film website. There is a Freedom of the Press website survey on there. What is that, and what's the purpose of it?
Yeah, so as part of our impact campaign, for the film, it really, my intention as one of the directors was always to, how can we use this as a story to engage and, inform tribal citizens, voters, and then also, for those tribes that want to take the next step in, adopting free press at the legislative level, at the constitutional level, we've kind of now have this roadmap to do that. And so that was one of the goals, the main goal of our impact campaign for this film. And, as part of that, I think trying to gauge the interest of, citizens at the individual level. And then, beyond that, if the tribal governments themselves are ready to take those steps, or maybe they're not ready yet, they watch our film and they are inspired to do that, that's ideal. So I think having a way to just collect that information from folks and see where they're at in the press freedom process was our intention with building, the survey. And so we wanted to, help in any way we can. And again, that kind of goes back to my work with NAJA at the Native American Journalists Association. That's, a very big piece of our mission is, supporting free press protections and providing, those templates, including, now the constitutional amendment for the Mvskoke Creek Nation to other tribes who have an interest in pursuing those press freedoms. So again, it really is has to be grassroots, citizen-led, effort. But if you are a citizen from the Mvskoke Creek Nation and you have, input on where we're at with our, laws, or you have feedback you want to share, it's a great place to share that. If you are a tribal citizen of another nation and, Bad Press has sparked your interest, or maybe you want to see Bad Press and, have some questions about that, it can, I think, be a great place to kind of share what, roadblocks may be, or, just issues that you feel like are important in your tribal nations and your tribal governments that are not being necessarily reflected in, your tribal media coverage, but you think it should be. So it's just really a good place, I think, to share some of that feedback, so we have an idea of what some of those challenges and successes are within our communities, and so that we're able to hopefully plug in and provide any resources on the NAJA end around those that are interested in taking those steps toward press freedom.
Yeah, and I think it's something that's important to remember too when you're watching this film, is that this film isn't just about Mvskoke Creek Nation. It's also part of a broader outreach to all tribes to get freedom of the press there. And there's going to be initiatives and things that they're forming right now through grants and other things that are going to try to make this happen at all the tribes that NAJA and everybody can. Is there any? Can we talk about that? Is there any of those things that we can talk about right now happening on the ground mechanically?
As far as I am aware, I know with the 3 affiliated tribes, there was some movement with possibly crafting a constitutional amendment. And I want to say it maybe had gotten shot down by the tribal leadership, like introduced, but I don't know if it made it very far in the legislative process, from what I know. But again, like I know that there are other tribes out there, including them. There's this, again, citizen-led effort, and like, again, overcoming those obstacles sometimes of like moving through the red tape and all the bureaucracy and the challenges that come with that is, right where Naja wants to be able to like help and plug into that process. So, we're doing what we can with that, but I would love to see, more folks like reaching out and saying, hey, we want to adopt free press protections. Like, what can we do to, start the process? So I think we're still kind of at the beginning of that. But again, I'm hopeful, like launching this survey now and having our website up will give people kind of a place to do that. Whereas it's been a little bit like all over the place before. Of course, you can go on Naja's website at naja.com and, have access. Anyone can have access to those free press legislative templates, which is something that we've always, provided at no cost. But again, like this is kind of a next like step of what has your experience been, or have there ever been efforts by citizens in your tribal nations to like add press freedoms. And so it's been interesting on this like journey of talking to other tribal members. We've heard of a couple of instances where there have been like efforts and they like really haven't gone anywhere. So I think for, those are kind of the targets that make sense, like that there's an interest there, but maybe they're, again, just like there's different timing now, and maybe those roadblocks are able to be, overcome with a new push. So that's, I think, what we're hoping for.
The survey data from the survey that people fill out on the website, is that going to be published anywhere? Or I guess my question is that survey data going to go straight to Naja to help those efforts, or what's going to be done with that data, and will anybody be able to see it from anywhere?
That's a great question. I think, again, our partnership between the film team and with Naja, it's, again, such a perfect like pairing, because bad press like, shows the real life like impacts of like free press or the lack of it. And so right now, we were just going to look at that initial data, on the film team side, and seeing like where would we start with that. But I think like Naja obviously like will always like have the access to that. But we don't think at the moment, at least, that we have plans to publish that. But it's kind of an extension too under the Red Press Initiative that did some rounds of surveys, and I don't even remember off the top of my head how many responses we have, but it's the most like thorough survey that has ever been done back in, I think, 2018, 2019, about press freedom in Indian country. And so with that data, I think that's like, we still have that to turn back to, but this is, again, kind of a secondary like follow-up survey that goes a little more like in depth and allows for those like open-ended responses from folks, and like seeing what they're experiencing and like how we can like plug into that as an impact team. And then again, if there's any follow-ups that we need to do that are, extend beyond like what our impact as a film team can do, how do we hand those off to Naja? So I think that's where we're at right now with the data. But I'm sure, like, I would love to like, have a great impact report and like, help 10 tribes gain press freedoms, and then write a report on that too.
Absolutely.
But, again, just to remind folks too, that survey data is all confidential. And so, I know there's a lot of times there can be, concerns about like, I'm afraid to like speak out and like share this experience, but that is all kept confidential. So if you do decide to fill out that survey, just want to note that too. We won't be publishing your name with your responses too. So feel free to be candid in those responses, because we will hold those internally and not publish anything without anyone's permissions, if it comes to something that might be like an incriminating like piece of information, or like revealing about who the source is.
Right, absolutely. Standard journalistic procedure. Yeah. So, The only other question that I have left, and I'm not seeing any from the chat here, but so has there been any news on any type of distribution, either in the theaters or online, for people who maybe can't reach any of these showings?
Not yet, Jared. We're still hopeful that that distribution is going to come our way. And, as I mentioned at our, one of our screenings at Dead Center last week, that awards are certainly helpful to help make sure that you're still in the conversations for and the distributors that may be, or the representatives that may be attending these film festivals alongside it. So, we're still trying to have as many conversations as we can, because we want there to be obviously as wide a distribution and as wide an audience for this film as possible, because we think, obviously it's a very important topic to me and to
Absolutely.
the Study Creek Nation. And so I think, the benefits that could have and the ripples, that we could see across Indian country are really huge. And so, again, we're seeing that at the festival, in the festival circuit as people watch it. But I would love to get distribution for this film and, to make it really widely accessible, especially for, this was our Oklahoma premiere, but recognizing that, more than 90,000 citizens in the Mvskoke Creek Nation live all around the world. And so I want every, Mvskoke citizen to have a chance to watch this, not those that are just able to make it to, festival screenings, whether they're here on the, res or, elsewhere. So I would love to be able to make it as accessible as possible to everyone.
Absolutely. And, one of the points that came up during the Q&A that I wanted to share with the YouTube audience too, if you're watching this and you're not a native and you're kind of saying, well, what do I care? What's it got to do with me? How does it affect me? One of the things that was talked about at the Q&A was that question in particular. And if you think about, and I'm just going to talk about the 5 civilized tribes, the ones that have casino licenses, right? So you have tribal entities that have businesses that are pulling in massive amounts of money every quarter, every year, right? And from the major news perspective of your local news outlets like your local TV or CNN or any of those guys, from their perspective, they're not going to cover any of the political happenings that are going to happen in the tribe, because they're going to say, that's a tiny fraction of our audience, and it's going to pull our coverage away from broader coverages, right? That we can reach a larger percentage of our audience. But wouldn't you like to know, as an audience member or somebody who consumes news content, right, what's going on internally at a company like Microsoft or, Facebook or any of those places, right? Because that's the amounts of money that some of these tribes are making every quarter or every year is very comparable amounts. And that anytime you have money, there's going to be political influence of all kinds, even within the tribe, externally in the tribe, and everybody else. So I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize, is that it's not just going to affect Native Americans' decisions that tribes that have casinos in particular have. It's going to affect everybody. And it's kind of a good idea to know the representatives and the executives that are making these decisions. Why are they making those decisions, and how reputable or trustworthy are those people? Even if you yourself may not have the ability to vote for them or not vote for them, your local political representation, your national political representation will have to do business with these guys. That's just the way that things go. So that's something to keep in mind if you're on the fence about catching the documentary when it's either digitally distributed, or if you're at a theater and it's showing there, go in and check it out, because it'll be an eye-opening experience. I personally guarantee it. So, but with that being said, I don't see any questions in the chat. Becca, I do want to thank you so much for coming on the program again. We're going to try to do coverage as much as we can of the documentary, try to get the word out, and hopefully we can have some type of distribution announcement soon to say, hey, everybody, go to this link and you can watch it. It's $2 or whatever it'll be. For the audience, you guys watching, we have a live wire, or later this week, I think it's a Thursday, is the cut line, where we're going to go over what's in the most recent issue of the paper. So if you want to catch that, the idea with that program is, if you're a citizen that's subscribed and you just got your paper in the mail, sit down. It's at 6 p.m. Pull your paper out, look through the paper. If you got a question about a story that's in the paper there, we're going to be live. You can come into the chat on YouTube and you could say, hey, what about this or what about that? And I'll try to answer it as best I can. Next week, we have another live wire with a group that is setting up a online database that people can go and search for their relatives to see if they were in a boarding school. So it's going to be a really interesting live wire. And then the next week after that, we have, we're bringing back on the program Hugh Foley. You might remember that we had him on Livewire last year about his research with Mvskoke hymns, but we're having him back on the program the week after next week to talk about his involvement with reservation dogs and how they're going to be filming some episodes on in a certain place in Oklahoma. I don't want to ruin it for you guys, but there's been some coverage. So,
okay, we want to thank Jared Moore and his live wire discussions with our former director, Rebecca Lansbury, and filling us in on when we're finally going to get to see the wonderful film documentary about our battle for free press here at the Mvskoke Creek Nation. Now, just real quick, we have, of course, our festival this coming weekend. We've already engaged in some of the sports competitions. Coming up tomorrow at 11 a.m., the Living Legends ceremonies at Faith Church. And actually, I don't mind saying yours truly will be part of that presentation. So, also, the popular Stomp Dance tomorrow evening at the festival grounds. And, of course, fun fair and food vendors will be available. Coming up on Friday, Junior Olympics at Harmon Stadium. Senior activities at the Elderly Nutrition Center starting at 9 a.m. Golf tournament at Fountainhead Creek Golf Course starting at 11. And the fun fair, arts and crafts and food vendors at 6:30 there on our festival grounds. Bull riding at the Bob Arrington Arena starting at 7, a fast pitch tournament at 7, and live entertainment, so you might want to check that out. But in a little bit of time we got left, let's see what we got to go here. You've been listening to Mvskoke Radio. Join us again next week for more local, tribal, and community news and updates. Midot.